I'm Patrick Bailey with iQlist.com. Today is March 4th, 2018, and I'm happy to announce that I fixed my printer. Woo! And in this video, I'm going to go over what I did to get it all back up and working. Okay, so I had my other video going over how I broke it. Now, before I broke it, the printer wasn't quite printing right, and I was trying to discover what was going on and what I accidentally did, because I was deciding, here's a picture of a nozzle, not my nozzle, but a nozzle, and I decided to go on to here and disassemble this. So I was taking the nozzle off, and as I was doing it, rather than hold it properly, I kind of had a vice grip on here, and I had the vice grip go over the thermistor, and I snapped the wires real good in such a way that it gets so hot down there, there's really no way to resolder or get it back on. So I really broke it. So since then, I've done a couple of things. So one, I got some tools. So I went down to Lowe's, and I got a 23 millimeter, because that will actually fit the size of a block right on the side. So I can just hold it really simply, and you don't need to have something like this. A crescent wrench is just fine, but I just wanted a dedicated tool that just sits by my printer that no one's actually going to grab, because no one needs a giant 23 millimeter wrench. And then even though I had sockets, I went and got a deep socket, and just one off, not a whole set. I bought an individual socket wrench, which is 7 millimeters, to just hook onto a nozzle, and have that dedicated. So now I got some dedicated tools next to it that aren't going to go anywhere. That was my problem. I broke it. So after that, I had to go order some parts. So I ordered a bunch of parts from different places, different locations. So let me just show you what I ordered. So first, I had to go to Prusa, because I just kind of wanted to get them from them at first to make sure I got the right stuff, since this is a Prusa printer. The i3 MK3 printer. Now, at first when I went there, and I may have mentioned this in my last video, but I went there, I couldn't find anything, because there was some weird setting on my personal account through Prusa that I just couldn't see stuff. And so I just started chatting with them online, saying, hey, I broke some stuff. I need this thermistor. Do you have it? And they go, oh yeah, it's just there. Go order it. I said, I can't see it. So they go, oh, your account's messed up. So they fixed it. Now I can see it. So I went and ordered this thermistor, and I'll put this link in the show notes in case you need to order a new thermistor. There may be a better place to buy it, but $9 doesn't sound like a bad price to get the thermistor and the correct thermistor that's the correct length for this Prusa. So I've ordered that, and then I also ordered some more other parts. Let's see, I ordered, I ordered, I thought it would be good to order like the whole assembly as best I can. So to order, it might be good to, in the future, to swap this out so I can have extra nozzles, have extra heater blocks in case something like this goes awry again, and the heat break in here, and maybe even some fins. So I actually did buy one of these from Prusa, which I'm not going to go link to, but I did buy one of these just in case. But anyway, the heat blocks, if you go on different sites, these are kind of expensive, and they seem pretty basic. So I went on to Amazon, found these, and I'll put this link in the show notes, for $9 for 5. So I got a little packet of 5, which I got a bunch of them out here, and I'm using it right now, and it seems to work just fine. There's no issue with this guy, got no problem. Also, I ordered 5 heat blocks, of which I got 4 left in here, and they got some screws in here and all the stuff they need. For, was it $18? And that seems like a decent price, because it's not that complicated, I don't think. And I'm using it right now. It's working just fine. So those are the parts I ordered. Let's see. Oh, I did order one other thing from Prusa. Where are you? The PTFE hot end, because I hadn't taken the whole thing apart. So people were saying different things. And so one thing they said is that hot end, which lies within here, may get melted. In my case, it wasn't the case, but I got a couple of new ones just in case, because they're only a couple bucks, just to have lying around. But mine actually that wasn't a problem. Let's see. So those are the parts I ordered. So with that, let me go to the main fix that I had to do to fix what I broke. Okay, so, well, first thing, I'm out of the basement. I'm actually, now that I've got this thing back together and working, I kind of actually like it in my room. If I run it low at night, it's fairly quiet, so it doesn't really actually bug me. And I've been running a lot. It's kind of nice having it next to me. But anyway, what was the problem?
where are my, okay. So I'm going to disassemble this a little bit. So this was all disassembled before, I had torn it apart, but I'm just going to take it apart a little bit here, but not quite all the way, just to get to, the heater assembly. Just kind of get out of the way a little bit. And then because I want to take this front part off, I have to take the fan on the side off as well. Yeah, there's one. There's two, which I could probably get away with, but I just want to get this fan out of the way. I need those two off at least, because I need to pull off this front section here. Trying to pull off the fewest things possible, because I got to put them back on.
What did you find out was the problem?
Well, no, this is my first fix. So the first fix is just I broke the thermistor. When I was trying to solve the original problem, I had the vice grips, which was a really stupid idea, and I broke it. So now I'm going to try to get this front piece off, which I may. Well, there's another one right here. Let's see if I got everything out of the way here or not. It's hard to remember how many bolts are everywhere, right? That one. And sorry, there's another one back here. Forgot about that guy. Okay, there we go. So, you also may notice my heater block is kind of ugly because I had a little mishap, and I still have have some goober up there, which I should probably clean up. But I had to go replace all of this, so I took this whole unit out, which I'm not going to do right now. Well, maybe I can. Probably should, because I got all that goob I still need to clean out that's been stuck on there since I was an idiot. I taught my daughter a new word of the day, hubris. Okay, there we go. See, this is recent. I just gotta, I'll clean that off in a bit. But anyway, I took this whole thing off. I put a new tube in, put a new heat break in there, put a new block in. But first I had to get the old block apart. And so the old block, I already had, the thermistor was already out because we had a new thermistor. But then I had to get the heat element out. And the heat element, you should just normally just unscrew this guy, and it should relieve the pressure, and you could pull the heat element out. Well, mine wasn't that forgiving, so I wanted to be very gentle with it and not break it as well. So I had to do a few things. So number one, the bolt didn't want to come out; it was stripped. So I had to actually go on the top and use my Dremel to square off the top and try to get it off. And I finally got it off. I got it unscrewed, but once I got it all unscrewed, it still didn't want to come off. So I decided it didn't really have pressure to get out. So I did a few things. One, I kind of went in here and gently pried this up. I was going to sacrifice this. This was just toast in my mind. So I got this bent all the way back. Still was not enough to get it out. So then I went through and cut out in the back, just like a relief pressure. Not to cut all the way through, because I did not want to touch that that heating element at all. I just got it cut a bit so I could relieve the pressure off that. And finally that was enough, and I got it out. Got it out, stuck it in the new one, attached everything up, put it in here, put a new nozzle on, and it looks a little ugly right now because I should have cleaned this up before, but I had an incident where my print was a little crazy overnight and got all this gunk in here, and you can it's still here. I just haven't taken it apart to clean it. But anyway, so I got that all together and put it back in, and I think it's a good thing to have some extra ones around because, you know, maybe even with this, because it might just be nice to just have extra guys around that you can go through here and, you know, take your, I don't have another one here. Take this guy, you know, stick him up there and put that in there, right? I'm not going to get this all nice and tight, but just to get that in there and then get that in there and then get a nozzle in here. And if you had all those parts together, I think it might be easier to replace. You know, maybe not the heat sink, but definitely the rest. It's nice to have all these extra parts because you can just replace the whole thing. And I think that's the way to go. But anyway, I got it all back together, got it all plugged in. I had a few issues where I wasn't running the cables correctly. I had them bowing out too far, and so when it did the X-axis, it actually hit the side and had an error. So I finally figured I had to get them, you know, narrowly placed in there. Got it all working, and life is good. But then after I got it all working, it worked better, but there was still a problem. So I'm gonna go clean this up, put it back together, and show you the next fix that I had to do, which was probably what I should have done on the original fix to actually get it working. And once I got that fix going, I started getting really good prints, and ever since then, it's been doing really well. So let me go show you that. Okay, now I have a couple of prints that I printed out before I broke this. And this is one of the reasons I took this apart. It may be hard to see here, but on this layer you can see it's kind of uneven. Let me see, I got a little better light here too. So
you can see the reflection.
Yeah, I got that. Or I also got things like this, which are just really hideous. And to me at the time, that pointed to the fact that it made sense to me that the filament wasn't coming out evenly at a consistent rate. And after I posted the video on my fix, I got a lot of suggestions, which I'll go over here in a bit. A lot of people had some really good suggestions. The community of 3D printer guys out there are great. They know a lot of stuff, and they have a lot of good ideas on what's going on. So it probably would have behooved me to have asked them first. Also, it did things like this. You can see this is just hideous as it went up into the layers.
Oh, get that light back there. You can see the reflection.
So this is just hideous. Now that was before I broke it.
It's not even.
Yeah, you can see because as it goes up the layers, it's just not coming out even, and things are just looking really bad. Now, after I put in this fix, things were better, but you can see it printed out this little carabiner, and it's still pretty bad. In fact, after I fixed it, you can do a comparison. That's what it should look like. And so you can see how it really was still messing things up. Even after I got this thermistor back in, I still had never fixed my original problem. So you can see those. Let's see, I got, well, those are actually okay. I even printed this. This one is a good print, but I printed this guy out, and I actually had to tape him up because I was using him as a filament holder. Let's get this off. And it was so inconsistent on the layers. You can see how the layers are all goobed up by comparison. And so eventually it broke because there was a layer that just, didn't have enough attachments, and so it snapped right there in the middle. So there was still a very, very big problem. But those are, let's see, some more bad examples. Here's another real bad example. Here's a good one, and there's a bad one.
Which one's the good one?
This one's a good one. You can see the layers, maybe. Which the second go around it was doing better than what it had done before, but you could still see, you still see these messed up layers. So then I had an epiphany, because, and based on everybody's information on what they were giving me, I decided to go in and look at the two gears that are actually pulling the filament to see what's going on. So I'll show you what I did there next. So I'll go pull that out and show you how I actually fixed my real original problem. Okay. So what my real problem was with the two gears. And so if you look at the other video I did on how you put this together, or you go look at the manual, one of the gears that pulls the filament in is attached directly to this motor. No duh. And so that one is really solid. No worry about that one. At least in my case, it's really solid. I mean, it's on the motor. It better be solid, right? But it turns out on the other side, not quite as good. So let me see if I can disassemble this without taking too much apart. Okay, so I need to take this guy out right here. And this, oh, I dropped a little washer, so I got to put that washer back on that side. But this guy, this was my problem. And what had happened was, this guy has a little axle that goes through here. You can kind of see that little axle going through. What had happened is, it was on the edge on one side. And so as a result, what had happened, I can probably better draw it on a whiteboard. So we had this axle going through, so you got the two sides, right? And you got the hole, and then you have the axle going through. And then we got our gears, right? And so that's what it normally should be, and that should be pretty happy. But what happened in my case is this got far too close to the edge. And then what happened is there wasn't enough in there, and so eventually it actually popped out. And it was doing that. So now the gears were still connected, but it was down just enough that it wasn't holding in a controlled way, and so it would slip all the time. So what I had to do is I took this thing out, and then this can be a little hard to work with because it wasn't in far enough on this side, so you got to put it on something. And then you have to, I don't have the right tools with me right now, but you have to get something to push against this and pound it in a little bit with a hammer. Just very gently, because you don't want to break anything here, but between going back and forth, you want to make sure there's enough on each side. And so once I had that done, and that gear was in there solidly, it wasn't going to come loose, then I was good. So that was my big fix. So once I got that fixed, then all my prints started looking beautiful. I started printing all kinds of cool stuff. So I've been printing lots of stuff since then. I've been printing cookie cutters and anything I can find on Thingiverse. Printed some carabiners and bigger carabiners. And everything's been coming out great. It's been working just fine, but that was my problem. This guy was not holding properly. So, anyway, so that was my big problem. So once I get this fixed, I get it back in, life was good. So, there's that. So I'll go over a little bit more and go over some of the suggestions other people had on potential problems. But for the most part, that was my problem, and that's how I got it fixed.
Okay, I want to go through some of these suggestions that people had. I just want to show a few of the highlights that were interesting that might help other people. So I had one from Robot Hut. The under extreme problem is not always the nozzle. Many times it's the short PTF tube that is slid inside the heatsink, right where the PTF tube contacts the nozzle. The PTF tube will melt or burn. And that was one thing I looked up, and that's a real interesting point. In my case, luckily, it hadn't burned. But what can happen, I guess, sometimes is that that little plastic PTFE tube, I guess, will, get pushed too far down, or something will happen where it'll get too hot at the end and actually melt. And when it melts, then it can't push the filament through correctly, and so then it doesn't come out correctly. But in my case, that wasn't the case. But that could be your case if you're having similar problems to what I'm having. Let's see. I also had Scott. Let's see. Why wouldn't you contact the live support before ripping apart your printer? It would have saved you all those headaches. Prusa has an amazing support system and warranty on all their printers. Now, I agree. I broke my printer. It's not Prusa's fault in this case. And the few times I have talked to them online, they have been great. They've got forums. They've got all kinds of stuff. And this is one of those arguments. Yeah, they've done a great job and they're very supportive. But sometimes you just have to tinker a little bit, right? You tinker with it, you break it, you fix a few things, you figure things out better. It cements it in your mind a little better. But yeah, definitely they have a great support staff from what I've seen so far. Couldn't disagree with that. That's all I've ever seen. And I hope no one ever thought that I was bad-mouthing Prusa. I'm loving Prusa. And it was my mistake to break this guy. Let's see, Dave. Where are you? Dave M. Dave M. Don't know if anyone has mentioned this, but pulsing the flow like you demonstrated is usually due to too low hot end temperatures, the temperature being too low. The filament is not liquefied completely and is starting to stick in the nozzle. The extruder continues to feed and build pressure till the plug blobs out. The filament flow has been in the nozzle longer because the plug is more fluid and flows well for a while till it cools again and gets another blob. Try raising the temperature a few degrees. Now, I did try that, but in my case, obviously, it wasn't the problem. But it could be your problem. It's interesting to know that, the temperature is important. And it could even be, I'm new to this game, it could even be where you live. I'm at a high altitude where, boiling things is a little different, at least with water. It's very dry here. I don't know how that affects things. But right now, since I fixed this, I'm using the default settings and it's working just fine. But it's good to know, hey, there's a reason why you can adjust the temperature. It could be that you just have to adjust the temperature. Okay, Benedict Tand. Steel vice grips on aluminum heat block are a terrible idea. I agree. The width of the current E3D heater block is designed for a 23 millimeter wrench, which is ideal. See? I have my 23 millimeter wrench now. I didn't before. I got it now. If you must, to use anything else, let it be a good monkey wrench. Yeah, monkey wrench would be, I'd probably go with a crescent wrench. The crescent wrench is fine, I think. I just know that if I have this there, no one's going to steal my no one's going to take the crescent wrench away from my tools that I intend to leave for the printer. This is going to stay with the printer because no one else needs a 23 millimeter. But anyway, some of my tools tend to float around the house sometimes. Let's see, Jen Yates. Yep, you broke it. You broke it. Not a fault of design, not bad documentation, just you not paying attention. Won't make the same mistake twice. Prusa. Yeah, and I hope I wasn't trying to, again, I'll say it again. I was not trying to blame Prusa. I broke it. Kind of stupid sitting there with my vice grips. I should have known better. Their design is great. Can't complain. They've done a good job. In many ways, I'm glad I broke it because I learned a lot. Sometimes it's just nice to break something and fix it and you learn more about it. But yeah, I broke it. Totally agree with that. So I got one more I wanted to read here. I and I'd. Oh yeah, I wanted to read the second thing he had here. The biggest hint I can give to help avoid a clogged nozzle is to not let the hot end sit there heated up for any length of time with filament in it. Only heat up the hot end when you want to put filament through it. When the filament just sits there hot for a while, it actually crystallizes a tiny bit. That's where the clogs can come from. This might have something to do with the certain filament types or qualities, and I cannot be certain. See, that one was really interesting to me, and that may have contributed to the problem, because back when I was fiddling with it, I was making it hot and cold and hot and cold without having filament go through it. So I think there might be some that might have applied to me a little bit, and that it might have been clumpier as it came out. I don't know. That's an interesting thought to not cycle it or leave it hot for too long if you're not actually going to use it. Since then, now that I've gotten it fixed, I haven't been cycling it like that and not using it, and I haven't had any problems. But that's an interesting idea I didn't know about. So, okay. Those are some of the ones I wanted to go through. But hey, lots of great suggestions. For the most part, everyone who's posted comments on here have been really positive and really informative and helpful. And sometimes pointing out the obvious. I shouldn't point out the obvious. It was dumb for me to break this in this way. But for the most part, being new to the 3D printer community, I see a lot of good suggestions, a lot of good people trying to help people out. So I'm very excited to be a part of this community now. Anyway, so that's kind of the end of this. Maybe I'll, once I get this, I'm printing something out right now. I got it all back together after that little repair again to show what's going on. I recalibrated it, and so now I'm printing out something just to prove once again that it's still working. So I'll probably show a little clip of that at the end here. But beyond that, hey, it's fixed. It's back together. I'm happy. So now I can probably start making more interesting videos about actually printing things out. So anyway, on with the show. hey, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, hey, give it a thumbs down. Also, if you like what we were doing here, subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button. And lastly, have a piece of info to share? Just post a comment.